haven't watched that in years.
Yeah.
Oh, mine. Remember that? Mine?
Yeah.
Because I can take you to your son.
Yeah, right.
No, I know your son. He's orange. He's got a gimpy fin on one side.
That's Nemo!
Man is depraved. There's nothing good inside of him. Left to my ways, then I know that I deny the king.
So, on a lighter note, let's talk about your fishing trip to Thailand and why that is significant to you.
Well, I've been 4 times. 4 times? 5 times? I think I've been 5 times, yeah. I've been once as a Christian, which was in September, just gone. It's the fishing out there. There's nowhere in the world where you can catch 10 different species of fish that are over £100 in one small lake. It's cheating, really, because it's stocked. It's what you'd call commercial fishing in this country. They take these huge fish, grow them till they're enormous, and then stuff them all in a lake. So it's cheating, really. It's not like catching them in the wild, but
How big does a £100 fish look like? What would that look like?
So a £100 fish, it depends on the species, but how do I explain that? So if it was a long, skinny fish, it would be 5 foot long. You know, if it was like a pike or something, a £100 pike, not that they exist, would be like 5 foot long. But then if it was a carp that was £100, it'd probably be 4 foot long and like that sort of. That's a great thing, yeah. But in Thailand, you catch £200 fish, £300 fish. It's crazy.
So as a fishing enthusiast, I'm going to ask you the silliest question in the history of black music so far. If you're a fishing enthusiast,
yeah,
do you like the movie Finding Nemo?
Tumbleweed.
You never watched Finding Nemo?
There's one bit that I love. I've got to be honest. The seagulls. I love the seagulls.
Oh yeah. They were hard. They were good.
Mine? Because I can take you to your son.
Yeah, right.
No, I know your son. He's orange. He's got a gimpy fin on one side.
That's Nemo!
Fasten your seatbelts!
It's a good film.
You know,
I haven't watched that in years.
Yeah.
Oh,
mine. Remember that? Mine?
Yeah.
That's good.
That came out in 2004, man. I remember.
That movie's hard, you know.
And Shark's Tale around the time.
It's a good film.
You put out. Yeah.
I say Finding Nemo over Shark's Tale though.
Hey?
Yeah, all day long.
Finding Nemo over Shark's Tale, 100%.
All day long, yeah.
Did you ever watch Finding Dory?
Nah.
Nah, I think I watched it. I watched it, but I can't remember.
Dory can bore me
Finding
a little
Nemo was
bit.
good.
Dory kind of bores me a little bit. Sometimes I get annoyed by her.
Is that the one who keeps forgetting everything?
Yeah.
No, it's not really.
I'm watching it.
You can't beat Finding Nemo. You can't outdo that.
Yeah. Well, on a more serious note, tell us about a day in the life of prison ministry.
Wow. Yeah. So there'll be different days. So there's one day we're going through Life Explored at the moment, which is like type like Christianity Explored. It's like one of their courses. We'll get about, I don't know how many men come in, 20 odd fellas come in, watch a session on the TV, break up into groups, discuss it and whatnot. We do a Bible study. We've been going through Mark. We've been going through Mark since like early last year. We're just on Mark 10 at the moment, so we're going through Mark very slow pace. On a Monday we'll go through Mark and talk about the verses, each verse and whatnot. One of my favourite things in prison ministry though is to just walk the wings. I'll walk the wings and I'll go and I know where guys are at, what cells they're at, and I'll go and I'll just chat to them where they're at, and I get an opportunity then to speak to people in a way that they may not share in a group setting, where they'll open up more about some of the struggles that they're going through in prison. I'll be able to talk and share the gospel direct. I can do that in a Bible study anyways, but there's something about when you're meeting with someone one-to-one and you've gone to visit them in their cell, and they're thinking, I don't go in their cell but at their cell. It shows that you care for them, innit? And I just love that. Is to go onto the wings and meet with guys one-to-one, and just to get to know them outside of the group setting, get to know them in a lot more of a kind of personal setting, one-to-one setting, and able to just have gospel conversations outside of the group setting, which is always a blessing. Also meet with people outside of prison, those who get released, try and connect them to a church. We work with the churches, bringing in volunteers into prison as well. A highlight moment for me, there's one guy in particular who I'm still in touch with. He's been out of prison for almost a year now, and we stay connected, and he comes to the Bible studies we do on the outside, etc. But in prison, this guy in particular was coming along to the Bible studies that we do on a Monday, and he was using a lot of kind of language that would make one at first think maybe this guy is a Christian. But after a while, in hearing how he'd speak, he would talk about, I'm just, trying to live a righteous life and this and that. And as I was listening closely, it seemed to me that this sense of righteousness was being attached to his reform rather than, trusting in Christ for salvation. So this is where, in having these kind of conversations in the group setting, where going out on the wings and having a one-to-one discussion, it allows for you to kind of go a bit deeper. So one time I met with him on the wing and I was like, yo, bruv, you've been coming to the Bible studies, you've been sharing a lot. Where would you say that you're at with Christ? Would you say that you've turned to him? And he said, I'm turning. So I was like, oh, bro, like if you were to die today, and he interjected straight away, he's like, I'd go to hell. So I was like, so why haven't you turned to Christ? And he said, I need to become more acceptable. And I was like, oh, right. So what, Jesus died for the acceptable, did he? And he was like, no. And I was like, yeah, bruv, Christ died for sinners. And I said, the problem with that thinking is it might seem humble at the thought that you've acknowledged that you are not acceptable before God, but it's rooted in pride that you could ever think that you could be acceptable of your own deeds. And also that then sets you as the standard of acceptability to come to God. So therefore, whenever anyone is looking to you to seek how they can come to God, you're going to put your standard on them. And I said, bro, that's dangerous. Like if you want to know what you contribute to your salvation, the only thing you contribute to that is the sin that had Christ nailed there. I think it was R.C. Sproul that
sin that made
that.
it necessary.
Right. And so I said to him, bro, listen, I'm gonna let you think about this, and I'm gonna come back in a couple of days. A few days later, I met up with him, and he said, yeah, I believe that Jesus died on the cross for my sins and rose again, and that's my salvation, and that I can't earn it. And then from there, we would talk about having to, meet up on the outside. And he's like, yeah, you're going to see me when I get out. And I said, yeah, I believe it when I see it. A lot of people say that. And then, the release is like the litmus test, where you're faced with then different kinds of temptations. And like many times, unfortunately, we'll see people that seem like they're walking well on the inside, and we don't see on the outside. And I was saying to him, yeah, I believe it when I see it. He goes, no, I'm going to prove you wrong, but I'm going to prove you wrong. And then lo and behold, he did. And I saw him the day after he got released, and we're still in contact now. And it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing to see the Lord work in this guy's life. So that's been a real highlight to me, seeing that. But there's other stories as well. There's different salvation stories that I could share. But yeah, that one has been a real blessing to me.
Praise God that the gospel's going forth and people are coming to faith, man. And yeah, man, it's a blessing to hear that. So tell me, King James, and perhaps you can add as well, Angela, how would you say prison ministry is different to music ministry, and perhaps why are you more inclined to get more involved?
Means of sharing the gospel, and ultimately, out of the mouth the heart speaks. You talk about what you love. So, as Angela shared, his job isn't in a sense what you'd call like a ministry type job. Yet you can't separate him from the ministry of sharing the gospel. Like he said, he seeks opportunity to share the gospel. So wherever we are, we're gonna desire to glorify God. I'm fortunate that I have the privilege of being in prison, and I can't really explain it. It just happens that I was just placed there, and I have the privilege of sharing the gospel there. With music, I have the privilege of sharing the gospel in music. Music, I've had a kind of a love-hate, relationship with music. I wouldn't say that music's always been that kind of something that's just come to me naturally. It's oftentimes felt like quite a graft, if I'm honest. And then there's this kind of, you know, as what my brother was sharing earlier about that kind of battle with pride, and then you're analysing that for a while, and you're going through all these different things, and you're thinking, you know, oh, should I be doing this, should I not, you know, I'm idolising music, am I, you know, wanting to use the Lord as a and actually seemingly glorify his name to actually glorify myself, and you start to go through these questions and this and that and the other. Also, you know, over the years, as people can hear, there's been I've dabbled in different genres, and I've never really wanted to be boxed in, because I've grown up with like listening to reggae and blues and hip hop and indie and all sorts, so I've got eclectic taste. But now with this genre that we're doing, drum and bass, I mean, people won't know, because at the moment, you know, there's just Depraved that's been released and got another track on the way, but there's a lot of music that we've been working on behind the scenes, and it seems to have become quite natural. And I'm probably going on a tangent here, but you asking what I like and what I don't like about sharing the gospel in these contexts.
Let me get Angela into this conversation, because obviously there is a scene there. There's some good things that are happening. And I know that you guys are both drum and bass MCs. But
it's funny when you say that though, because it's like to call me a drum and bass MC. I've just released one song,
but you're becoming a drummer. But as rappers, as artists, let's just put it in general. What are some of the things that you like about the scene? So let's start with the positive. But also, what are some of the things that you think are things that we need to look at, that perhaps you feel you are concerned about, that perhaps should be a shared concern amongst everyone? Let's start with you, Angela.
So when you say the scene, do you mean the drum and bass scene itself?
Just the Christian rap scene, the gospel scene, or everything. What are some of the things that you've seen that you like, and also some of the things, let's say not like, but maybe a little concerned about?
Yeah. What I like about it is, coming from where I come from, so when I first got saved, the church I was in was very traditional, and I didn't know my Bible well enough yet to know that it was okay. Because of I was a drum and bass MC before I was a Christian, and the lifestyle that went with it was just so depraved, like everything about it.
Depraved.
Yeah. But I sort of I associated that with being wrong with that music, you know. And what I love about it now is just seeing people glorifying God in their own way, like, you know, like some people will pray in old King James language and stuff. And to me, I just think that's just being stuck in this tradition that's not right. So the gospel music scene, to me, just shows how people express their love to God in a genuine way, rather than a Christian way. Do you know what I mean? That's what I love about the gospel scene in general. But the drum and bass scene, there's no gospel drum and bass scene at all, and that's what we're trying to encourage people to jump on this bandwagon and create one. Because for me, I want to see the gospel like infect every part of this world and reach everywhere where it hasn't reached. And if you go on Spotify and type in gospel, any scene that has vocalists in it, whether that be rappers, spoken word, or singers, has a gospel representation, a good one as well. But in drum and bass, what have we found that's real gospel? 15 songs in total, like
we've got
so far. We've created a playlist, and it's just not there. There's not the representation there. But we're hoping that changes. Not even through us. We're just contributing to this scene. Do you know what I mean? And coming from the drum and bass scene myself, there's very lost people in that scene. That's the music that I've got deepest in. Maybe it's the same for all genres, but drum and bass is a very dark place in the world. There's a lot of very lost people in that scene, and that gives me faith that the gospel message being heard, that, you know, when you come to God, most people come broken, don't they? And there's some real broken people, and that's my prayer for it, that first and foremost, our music, God accepts it as praise and worship to him, so that what happens after that, if God accepts it as worship, it doesn't matter what happens after that. But secondly, I want to see people that I care about in the drum and bass scene have to hear the gospel, because they're going to listen to the music. And I just want to see salvation go through the drum and bass scene. You know what I mean?
As rappers, as artists, let's just put it in general. What are some of the things that you like about the scene? So let's start with the positive. But also, what are some of the things that you think are things that we need to look at, that perhaps you feel you are concerned about?
I never knew like there was such music. Never even thought about it. Never thought to think about it or look at it. I weren't seeking for God. Weren't searching for God, or so the music came to my ears without me helping it, through someone showing it to me. And then later on in my testimony, I was actually in a barber shop, and the barber was listening to some gospel music, gospel rap music as well, which then was a vehicle for us to have a conversation. And I was like, bruv, you a Christian? And he's like, I remember he said to me, I've got a passion for Jesus that no one can break. And I was like, whoa. And he started showing me music that he was making, and so I started to see, wow, this, and this is back in 2014. So there was people, I'm like, wow, there's people that are, making this music that I can, enjoy and relate to. So I love that, it speaks into a context and a culture, that people are in. I think some of the concerns, which we all battle with, the pride in our hearts and whatnot, is that there could be a glorification of self, even whilst using spiritual language. And and because our hearts are wickedly deceitful above all things, we may not even know that we're doing that in that moment. Maybe there's a lack of accountability, or maybe people feel like they can't, address certain things. I don't know. And I also think as well, people might be looked upon with a certain, like, wow, this guy's amazing Christian, amazing man of God or woman of God, on the basis of what level they have reached within the music might be seen as, God's favour. And I'm sure in some cases that can be, but at the same time, there might be that people are just enjoying the music, and sometimes people were going to enjoy something that might not even, that might just be a vibe. Is the gospel being mentioned much in music?